The text came at 6:42 p.m. sharp. From Vivian Pierce, my mother, queen of appearances, self-appointed CEO of our family. You're banned from Thanksgiving, Rowan. You've embarrassed this family for the last time. No greeting, no explanation, just the digital equivalent of a slammed door. The tea kettle hissed behind me, the sound sharp against the quiet of my apartment. I stared at the screen, then at the spreadsheet open on my laptop columns of bills and due dates, all shaded in neat colors. Rowan Pierce, 30 years old, financial analyst. The woman who made sure every light in the Pierce house stayed on. I scrolled through the sheet. Electricity, my account, internet, my card, mortgage, my name. Even the phone plan, all 6 lines tied to me. For years, Mom called it family efficiency. But efficiency had a cost. Mine. My phone buzzed again. Group chat, Pierce family Thanksgiving. Vivian had just updated the seating chart. My name was gone. Beside hers sat Lucas Pierce, my older brother Golden Boy, investor, family favorite, and Charles Pierce, my father, quiet, loyal, always the peacekeeper. Lucas texted less drama this year. Be good, sis. I typed, enjoy the silence, then deleted it. The kettle clicked off. Steam fogged the window. Outside, the city lights blinked like small, indifferent stars. I thought about last year's Thanksgiving, Lucas giving a toast about family unity while Mom smiled at him like he'd cured cancer. She'd slipped me the bill afterward. You make more. Darling, it's just practical. Practical. The word had teeth. I closed the chat, opened my banking app, and scrolled. Electric, insurance, mortgage, all under auto-pay, all green, all mine. I took a slow breath. In my line of work, when a system bleeds money, you don't beg it to stop. You trace the leak. Then you cut it. The screen's glow painted the apartment gold. My reflection looked calm, too calm. I whispered to it anyway. If I'm not invited to the table, I'll stop paying for the feast. The words tasted strange, not angry, not cruel, just factual. Somewhere in my chest, something unclenched. I reached for my pen, wrote across a sticky note audit family, and beneath it phase 1, identify assets. The phone buzzed once more. Dad this time. Let's not make things worse. Ro. You know how your mother gets? I smiled small, almost kind. Yeah, Dad, I whispered. I know exactly how she gets. I pressed close on every tab except the spreadsheet. 6 rows glowed back at me, 6 lines that kept their world running. The kettle clicked again as if agreeing. I raised my mug, calm as a surgeon before the first incision. Let's begin. And I started deleting, one bill at a time. Morning light spilled through my blinds, cutting across the same spreadsheet I'd fallen asleep beside. Numbers blurred into each other, but the story they told was painfully clear. My family's comfort had my name printed on every line. The first voice message of the day came from Mom. Good morning, sweetheart. I hope you're not still sulking about last night. You know we love you, but things are just easier without conflict. I'll call later about the mortgage, all right? Easier. The word slid under my skin. I poured coffee and watched the steam curl upward like a question. My phone lit again. Lucas Pierce, the golden sun. Hey, Ro, don't make this a big deal. Okay, Mom's just stressed. She's been carrying everyone since Dad's hours got cut. I answered before I could stop myself. Carrying everyone, Lucas. The only thing she carries is my credit card balance? A pause, then laughter. Classic Rowan. Always so dramatic. He hung up before I could reply. I opened another sheet. Household history. Every time they'd borrowed something, the surgery copay for Dad, the down payment, the new roof, the restaurant bill labeled family night. Each column had dates, amounts, quiet evidence of years spent mistaking duty for love. The truth looked so much cleaner in cells and columns. A flashback surfaced. I was 22, sitting at the bank with Mom. She'd said, "It's just a small loan, dear, for your father's health. We'll pay you back." I'd believed her. I'd even thanked her for trusting me. Now, I scrolled down and found the same loan account still active my payments. Her name on the deed. Dad's text came in soft, apologetic. "She doesn't mean to hurt you, Ro. She just wants what's best for the family." I typed, "Maybe what's best isn't always free." Then deleted it. The apartment felt too still. Somewhere, a neighbor's TV played laughter from a sitcom. Perfect timing, perfect family. I whispered, almost amused. Funny how we never see the bill at the end of those episodes. I highlighted every expense linked to them green to red, one by one. Electricity, mortgage, insurance, dependency, dissected like an organism under glass. Outside, a car horn snapped me back. The world kept moving. My coffee had gone cold. Phase 2. I murmured, "Find the forgery." I saved the file, renamed it Pierce Accounts, Autopsy, and for the first time in years, I felt awake. By the time the sun disappeared behind the skyline, my apartment looked like a war room, folders open, screens glowing, post-its clinging to the walls like tiny yellow witnesses. I'd spent the day tracing payments, looking for the weak point in the system. What I found wasn't a leak. It was a theft wearing my handwriting. The mortgage account, the one supposedly jointly managed, had a digital authorization form on file. The signature was mine, or so it looked. I zoomed in, heart steady, but cold. The curl on the R, the loop of the A. Too perfect, too practiced. Vivian Pierce, I whispered, saying her name like evidence. A memory surfaced me at 22, sitting in a sterile bank office. Mom beside me, perfume strong, voice sweet. "I'll sign for you, honey. Family helps family." The banker smiled. I smiled back. Trust was my first transaction. The same motion replayed in my head, only now I saw her angle the pen, tracing my signature after I left the room. I opened the chat log from last year's refinance. The confirmation email came from Rowan Pierce, home ugmail, com. My actual address was Rowan Pierce, the dot, one tiny dot that changed everything. There, it was a ghost account. Created the same week Lucas launched his consulting business. I called the bank. The clerk's tone turned cautious. "Ms. Pierce, the authorized user on the account is your mother, not your brother. But the last mortgage transfer came from a third-party email. Is there something wrong?" "Not yet," I said, "but there will be." When the call ended, I sat back and stared at the ceiling. The quiet felt wrong, like the world holding its breath. The phone rang again. "Mom." I let it buzz once, twice, then answered. "Rowan, I heard you've been snooping around your accounts." "Really? Darling, it's embarrassing. You're making something out of nothing. Nothing. You forged my signature. Don't be dramatic. I handled the refinance because you're always so busy. You should be thanking me for stealing my name, for keeping the house in the family." I laughed, a sharp, humorless sound. "Which family, Mom? The one that bans me from dinner or the one that borrows my identity?" Her voice hardened. "Watch your tone. Rowan, you wouldn't have half of what you do if it weren't for us." "You're right," I said softly. "I'd have more." Click. The line went dead. The apartment hummed with low electricity, the refrigerator cycling on, the clock ticking too loud. I turned back to the screen and printed the form, the forged signature gleaming in black ink. I pinned it to the wall beside the sticky note, "Find the forgery." Underneath, I added, "Found, confirmed, filed." Then another note, Phase 3, collect proof. For the first time, I felt something close to anger, not hot or loud, but clean, the kind that builds cases. I whispered into the quiet, "You turned my trust into currency. Mom, let's see how you balance that account." And as the printer spat out another page, I smiled at the soundpaper becoming evidence, silence becoming power. The next morning, I sat across from Dana Wells at a small cafe that smelled like burnt espresso and unfinished dreams. She'd been my colleague once, sharp, grounded, the kind of woman who could turn chaos into columns. When I told her what I'd found, she didn't flinch. They forged your signature, she asked, stirring her coffee, and built a ghost account to move money through my mortgage. I said, family, mother, and brother. The dynamic duo. Dana leaned back, studying me like a case file. You could take this to court and make it public. Vivian Pierce would rather die. Then you handle it quietly. Just make sure when it falls clean. She pulled a notebook from her bag and drew 3 columns on the page. Legal, technical, communication, your new holy trinity. I raised a brow. Explain. Legal, freeze your credit. File a fraud report. Start the paper trail. Technical, change passwords. Reclaim every account. Reroute the mortgage. Communication, craft one final message. Something professional, emotionless. It'll sting more that way. I smiled into my cup. You make revenge sound like project management. That's all it is, she said. Projects end, systems crash, people learn. For a moment, the noise of the cafe faded. I imagined my mother's voice when the bills bounced, Lucas's confusion when his cards failed. The image wasn't satisfying yet. It was mathematical. When do I start? I asked. You already have, Dana said. You're just waiting for the audit date. I looked down at her notes, 3 columns of clean order. No emotion in sight. My life reduced to strategy. Finally under my control. You ever get tired of being right? I asked. You ever get tired of paying for everyone else's mistakes? She had me there. We split the check, and she slid her card across the table. Phase 4. Never underestimate a calm woman with a spreadsheet. As she walked away, I copied her columns into my own notebook, writing at the top in block letters, Operation Family Audit. The plan was simple. The execution would be surgical, and this time, I wouldn't clean up their mess, I'd expose it. Thanksgiving night arrived dressed in the illusion of peace. The streets were empty, every window lit with someone else's version of warmth. My own apartment smelled of cinnamon tea and electricity. The laptop glowed like an altar. At exactly 8 o'clock, my cursor hovered over the first tab, Electric Company. Account owner Rowan Pierce, Phase 1, Switch 1, a single click. The system blinked, then reverted ownership to Vivian Pierce. Just like that, the house that had run on my name would start running on hers. Or not at all. 1, I whispered. For every year they forgot to say thank you. Outside, fireworks from a nearby parade cracked through the dark. In my head, they sounded like servers rebooting. The second tab, Internet Service. I selected Cancel Authorization. A confirmation box popped up. Are you sure? More sure than I've ever been. Click. In the Pierce dining room, I imagined Lucas raising his glass. Golden boy haloed by chandelier light. To family, he'd say. And somewhere between the toast and dessert, the Wi-Fi would die. Switch 3 Insurance, a shared policy that protected everyone but me. I unchecked the auto-pay box, printed the confirmation email, paper proof, paper power, 4 gas and utilities. The bill that heated the house my mother claimed was hers. Let's see how warm it feels now. 5 mortgage. My biggest quiet confession, the one they never thanked me for paying. The cursor shook under my hand. This wasn't anger anymore. It was precision disguised as calm. I clicked Revoke Payment Authorization. Immediately, an automated message filled the screen. Pending account change. Confirmation will take effect within 24 hours. Good. You'll need the night to pray. And then came the last switch, the one that hurt and healed in equal measure. Family phone plan, 6 lines. My name on all of them. Dad's number. Mom's, Lucas's. The tablet registered under guest device. Every text, every call, every insult had passed through a plan I paid for. I scrolled down, selected Remove All Secondary Users. The cursor blinked. My reflection stared back from the dark screen. 6. I said softly. For every time they called me selfish, click. The system processed for a moment, then flashed all secondary lines removed. Across town, the lights in the Pierce house would flicker once. Lucas's tablet would lose connection mid-laugh. Vivian's phone would drop a call in the middle of another backhanded compliment, and the house that had thrived on my invisible labor would hum in confusion. The phone buzzed on my desk. Dad, internet's down again. Can you fix it? I didn't reply. A minute later, Mom Rowan. Something's wrong with the power. Call me immediately. Still silence. Then Lucas. If this is you being petty, grow up. I took a sip of tea, the steam brushing my lips like applause. Petty, I said aloud. No. Lucas, this is accounting. Outside. The wind howled through the city's narrow alleys. The lights in my own apartment dimmed briefly, then steadied. A quiet reminder that even systems built on control can tremble when the code changes. I leaned back in my chair, the glow of 6 closed tabs washing over me like the aftertaste of freedom. On the counter, my notebook weighted 3 columns drawn in Dana's neat lines. Under communication, I wrote draft email, the audit summary. Then, under notes. Every system fails eventually, especially the ones built on guilt. I shut the laptop. The room went dark for the first time in years. The silence felt earned. The next morning, the world looked rinsed clean. Rain streaked the windows, soft and deliberate. I packed my briefcase like I was going to court documents, copies, a black binder labeled Pierce Family, audit record. When I pulled into my parents' driveway, their house looked smaller than I remembered. Or maybe I was just taller now. Vivian opened the door before I could knock. Her voice was syrup wrapped around steel. Rowan, I was wondering how long it would take you to come crawling back. I'm not crawling, I said. I'm documenting. She blinked, pretending confusion, but her eyes darted to the folder under my arm. Inside, the dining table was set half coffee, half chaos. Charles Pierce sat at the end, reading a newspaper he clearly hadn't turned in 10 minutes. His silence was his favorite defense. Lucas leaned against the counter, dressed like success itself, every inch the sun my mother could display like a trophy. So, he said, grinning, family intervention or performance review audit, I said, sliding the binder onto the table. Every transaction, every payment, every forged signature. I figured if you were going to treat me like a service provider, I might as well hand in a report. Vivian laughed softly. You're being absurd. Absurd as paying the mortgage on a house I don't live in. She folded her arms. We did what we had to do. Family helps family. No, I said, opening the binder, revealing copies of contracts, screenshots, account transfers. Family doesn't commit identity fraud and call it love. Charles shifted, his voice a whisper. Viv, did you really sign her name? Don't start, she snapped. It was for us. For all of us. Lucas stepped forward, tone smooth. You always overreact. Ro, it's just paperwork. Then you won't mind signing something yourself. I slid a blank payment authorization form toward him, pen balanced on top. Go ahead, Lucas. Sign my name. You're good at it. His jaw clenched. Mom's voice cracked for the first time. Enough. We are done with this conversation. You're right, I said, closing the binder. We're done with a lot of things. I placed another folder beside it, smaller, labeled Instructions to Pay Your Own Bills. Think of it as a manual for independence. Vivian's face drained of color. You'll regret this, Rowan. I already regret not doing it sooner. When I reached the door, Dad's voice stopped me. What are you going to do now? I turned, met his tired eyes. Whatever I want. For once, that's not a crime. Outside, the rain had stopped. The air smelled like something ending. I looked back at the house, the shrine of my unpaid debts, and whispered to myself, Phase 5. Complete. Then I drove away without looking in the rearview mirror. That night, the storm came back with the kind of rain that erases sounds. I sat at my desk, the binder still open beside me, the house dim except for the blue light of my laptop. Each notification blinked like a pulse. Then came the first one, an unauthorized access attempt on my mortgage account. Seconds later, another on my insurance login. Someone was trying to reverse what I'd done. Someone desperate. Of course, I murmured. Lucas. The phone started buzzing, Mom's name flashing, then Dad's, then Lucas's. I let them ring until silence became heavy again. A new email arrived from a burner address, Family Proxy Funds, Outlook, com. The subject line read, "You've gone too far." I opened it. Screenshots of my spreadsheet, a single sentence beneath undo it. Or, "We'll make sure you lose more than your family." I hit reply. Perfect. Let's make this official. Then I opened my calendar, selected new meeting, and sent the link to all three of them. The title, Family Audit, live review, at 9:00 p.m. sharp. The call connected. Three faces filled the screen. Vivian in pearls, posture unbroken. Charles beside her, pale and quiet. Lucas leaning forward. Anger already simmering. "You're out of your mind," Lucas snapped. "No," I said. "I'm just logged in." I shared my screen. Every tab I'd opened the week before appeared like an execution order. Let's go through the accounts. Shall we? Electric transferred, insurance closed, internet canceled, mortgage restored to the rightful owner. That would be you. Mom. Vivian's voice trembled but stayed elegant. You're ruining your own family. Rowan. No. I'm ending a scam that's been running for a decade. Don't talk to your mother that way, Dad muttered. Then tell your wife to stop committing felonies. Lucas leaned closer to the camera. You think this makes you strong? You're pathetic. You'll come back like you always do. Not this time, I said, opening the activity log. Here's your IP address. Lucas, the one trying to log in under my name. He froze. The screen reflected in his eyes, and for the first time, he looked small. Vivian whispered, You wouldn't dare turn us in. I don't have to, I said, clicking Share Access Log. The system does it for me. An automated alert popped up on their side. Suspicious activity traced. Account temporarily suspended. Lucas's iPad screen went dark mid-call. Vivian gasped. What did you do? Nothing, I said. I just stopped paying for your signal. A robotic voice echoed faintly from their living room speakers. Notice account payment authorization revoked. Service ending tomorrow. The irony was beautiful. You're destroying us, Mom shouted, her perfect composure cracking at last. No, I said quietly. I'm setting you free from me. Dad rubbed his temples, defeated. You'll regret this. Ro, you can't just erase family. I stared at him through the screen. Steady. You're right. I can't erase family, but I can stop funding the fantasy. For a long time, no one spoke. The rain outside filled the silence like applause. This isn't over, Vivian whispered. Oh, it's over, I said. The audit is closed. I ended the call. The screen went black, leaving only my reflection calm, almost weightless. Somewhere across town, the Pierce house flickered once, twice, and went dark. The storm swallowed the world whole, and for the first time, I didn't feel like drowning in it. I closed the laptop, logged the time 9:46 p.m., final transmission. Then I sat in the dark, listening to nothing but the steady hum of my own heartbeat, proof that silence could be victory. The morning after the storm, the city woke up clean, but I didn't. My inbox was a war zone: threats, apologies, confusion. The Pierce family empire had gone dark overnight, their lights, phones, and accounts all disconnected. I brewed coffee in silence, watching the machine drip one measured drop at a time. It felt like the rhythm of something ending. At 8:03 a.m., a call from an unknown number lit my phone. I hesitated, then answered. Mrs. Pierce, this is Sandra from Capital West Bank. We've detected irregular activity in your accounts. Define irregular. Multiple transfers and reversals linked to fraud reports. We've frozen your personal checking temporarily until the matter is reviewed. I closed my eyes. Of course. Justice never came free. Thank you, Sandra, I said. Please make sure the report includes every name attached. Yes, ma'am. We'll flag the Pierce accounts as well. I hung up and let the quiet settle. The cost had arrived. An hour later, a knock hit my door. 3 times polite. Nervous. Charles Pierce. My father stood there in a soaked jacket, hands shaking, guilt written in the tremor of his voice. Rowan, he said, almost whispering, your mother's losing her mind. She says you've destroyed us. No, Dad. I just unplugged you. The bank's calling, the utilities, the credit union, everything's collapsing. You need to fix it. I already did, I said, letting him in. It's just not the fix she wanted. He stared at the binder on my counter, the one marked audit record. Vivian's terrified. She says Lucas could be charged for fraud. He could. I said, so could she. We didn't mean for it to get this far. He said, you let it get this far. He winced, sitting down heavily on the couch. His voice was raw now. I thought if we kept quiet, things would balance out. Silence isn't balance. Dad, it's compliance. For a moment, he looked small. Human, a man stripped of his excuses. I don't know how to pay the mortgage, he said. Then learn, I replied. I wrote down a number on a sticky note customer service, payment helpline, and slid it across the table. They'll walk you through it, I said. They always do. He stared at the paper like it was written in another language. Your mother says she just wanted to protect the family. She wanted to control it, and she succeeded until now. His eyes filled, but no tears fell. Do you hate us? No, I said quietly. I just stopped mistaking guilt for love. He nodded slowly, like a man finally understanding a lesson too late. Before leaving, he paused at the door. You were always the smart one, he said. I wish that hadn't meant being the lonely one too. The words lingered after he left. I looked around the apartment, small, silent, mine. Another email arrived from the bank confirming the freeze temporary account suspension under review. Collateral damage, the price of clean lines and hard truths. I sat down, opened a fresh page in my notebook, and wrote across the top Phase 6, Rebuild. Then below it, almost as a prayer, freedom always invoices in full. The kettle whistled softly behind me. I poured another cup of coffee, the bitter taste grounding. Real. My phone buzzed one more time, Vivian's name lighting the screen. I didn't answer. Instead, I watched the steam rise and disappear. Sometimes peace doesn't come from forgiveness. It comes from the sound of nothing left to fix. Night fell quiet again, the way it does after something permanent breaks. My apartment was spotless, organized, almost sterile like the inside of my own mind after months of noise. The binder sat closed on the table, spine labeled in thick black ink, Pierce family, finalized. I hadn't spoken to anyone in 3 days. The phone still lit up with messages, Mom's apologies that weren't apologies. Dad's soft attempts at peace. Lucas's silence that said more than any word could. I let them all stack up, unanswered. Across the room, the answering machine blinked red, one new voicemail. I pressed play. Vivian's voice filled the air, shaky but still dressed in control. Rowan, I hope you're proud of yourself. The bank is crawling all over our files. We could lose the house. Is that what you wanted to prove you're smarter? You'll thank me one day for everything I did. I let the recording end. The last sentence echoed the same one she'd used when I was 16, and she'd forged my name on a scholarship form. You'll thank me one day. I looked at the binder, the papers, the proof of every betrayal turned to data. For once, I didn't feel the urge to explain or defend. I poured the last of the coffee, stepped to the balcony, and watched the city lights pulse like distant signals. The rain had stopped. The world was still. I whispered to no one in particular. Maybe this is the day. The day I stopped being their safety net. The day the silence didn't feel like punishment. The day I realized freedom isn't loud, it's just honest. Inside, the kettle clicked off. Another small sound of finality. I turned off my laptop, the screen dimming to black. My reflection stared back, a woman unrecognizable to the one who used to apologize for existing. No tears, no triumph. Just peace. The kind you don't buy, borrow, or fake. The kind you earn.